Hello everyone. We are so excited to kick off our fifth episode of our EMA series. We renamed this series to Question for Group. And today we have a lot of amazing speakers with us. We also have a lot of new faces in this group. And yeah, as already mentioned, we are so excited to kick off this episode. First of all, before we start, you can paste all your questions into the LinkedIn chat below the event, and we do our best to answer all of your questions. This means we will add them into our presentation, and then every one of the speakers has a chance to comment this and give an answer to you. And with this, we will start with a short introduction of our speakers. I will start. My name is Jannik Reinhard. I'm a Microsoft MVP in Intune and AI platform. And I'm together with Nicklas, the moderator of this session. And with this, I will hand over to you, Nicklas.
Yeah, also welcome from my side to already the fifth edition, as you said, Jannik, to AMA, now renamed to Question for a Group. This is our amazing live event, which we host in the LinkedIn Modern Endpoint Management group. And we are here to answer your questions. And for that, we got an awesome selection of speakers. And let's just start with them with a little introduction round. So just tell us a little bit what you do, what's your status if you're working at Microsoft or if you're an MVP. Just with a little introduction round. Please, Cristina, you first.
Sure. Thank you for having us. First of all, hi everyone. I am Cristina Osorio, Customer Experience Product Manager working for Intune in Microsoft. I have been focusing on Windows management for the last few years. And I will pass it over to Jason. We are in the same team, so introduction should be easy.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Jason Sandys, definitely the same team. Windows also generally my specialty, although I dabble in certain other things. Happy to answer questions. So Anton, on to you.
Okay, thanks, Jason. My name is Anton. I'm one of the architects in the Intune product group, and my specialty is endpoint privilege management, apps, and anything else related to Windows. We're really looking forward to answer your questions. And thanks a lot, Nicklas and Jannik, for inviting us.
So next we take Mike. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, folks. I'm Mike Danoski. I'm a product PM here at Microsoft. I've been at Microsoft for almost 12 years, a little over 12 years. I'm responsible for endpoint privilege management. Prior to that, a lot of the settings and policy and stuff like that in Intune helped a lot of folks move over from GPO. And then also working on Copilot scenarios for policy currently. So thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Christian?
Yeah, hi folks. I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff. I'm a principal program manager on the Windows Cloud Engineering team, which is Windows 365, AVD, as well as RDS, which we probably all remember from back in the days. I joined the journey of AVD and Windows 365 from the beginning. Has been like have been part of that journey. Has been a great journey so far. So really want to thank all of you for all the support, as well, Nicklas, for all your great stuff that you do for the community here. So looking forward to answer any questions you have regarding these products.
Awesome. Then Florian.
Hi, my name is Florian Salzmann. I'm from Switzerland. Intune MVP. I do everything in and around Intune with PowerShell or with the tools provided inside of Intune, and I'm happy to answer some questions today.
Awesome. Then we have the second Nicklas, of course, the one who is spelled wrong.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicklas Olsen. I'm a Microsoft Learn student ambassador, and besides my studies, I also work as a consultant apprentice.
Thank you very much. And then last but not least, we have Shadi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shadi Khorshid. I work for Nova Capta. I am positioned as product manager in Intune. I enjoy mainly Intune, everything that has to do with Intune. I've been working in Intune for many years now. I enjoy particularly any management of the Intune, whether it's iOS and Android, Windows and Linux. However, I mainly would answer questions, anything regarding Apple products. So thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So as you see, we have a great selection of speakers here. And with that, just a little bit about the housekeeping. So you can ask your questions right here in the LinkedIn chat. And this will also give you a chance to win a prize or to win a ticket for the next summit in Paris, for the next Modern Endpoint Management Summit in Paris. Just leave your question in the chat. And at the end, we'll do a raffle on it and you can win this amazing prize. So let's get started with the first question. And also because Ignite was, of course, last week, we wanted to ask you first, what was your personal highlight? So a personal feature, product, whatsoever. Just tell us what you loved about it. And we can do the same round again. So Cristina, please, what was your favorite? I think we can't hear you. So otherwise, Jason, maybe you want to go first?
I think I managed to unmute. That's fine. Okay. No, so for me, one of the highlights was all the announcements around analytics that we did in Intune. I think the session that Archana and Amit did was wonderful. I think one of the main questions or main interests that we get from our customers when we talk to them is around having more insights, more data in Intune, more consumable reports. So I think that session was amazing, and I recommend you to go back and watch it if you have not seen it.
All right. Okay. So now you, Jason.
All righty. Yeah, my two favorite, I did not go, but two of my teammates, Clay Taylor and Mitt Gutsky, they presented and they were sending pictures back of being on stage and the folks waiting in line for their sessions, and they had some awesome feedback. So honestly, that was my highlight, was my two awesome teammates. Just knocking it out of the park. Anton, I guess you're up.
Yep. Yeah, mine. So I was fortunate enough to actually be there at Ignite, and lots of energy. Super excited. My personal favorite, of course, was lots of interest in endpoint privilege management and customers moving to standard user. Also, a lot of interest in moving to, or actually a lot of customers moving to cloud native. So really glad to see the customers making that journey and getting to a more secure setup. And for everyone who hasn't watched Jason's session, Jason Rozak's session, who presented the latest and greatest and what's coming from Intune. So also we're super excited to watch that as well. Mike?
Hey folks. I'm not going to share I know Christiaan is going right after me, so I'm not going to share my actual proper highlight that I'm most excited for, because I don't want to steal his thunder. But I think, like Anton said, Jason Rozak's huge demo fest going through all the awesome scenarios. The focus on Mac was great to see. And then of course the EPM Copilot scenario, but then I'm a little bit biased towards that. So yeah, overall great Ignite. Awesome to see the big crowds again up to the big event. So very cool. And now I'll hand it off for Christian.
Hey, Mike, I'm still waiting on the magic trick. So when is it coming? Hey, before I share my exciting feature, I'm very excited to have seen most of the MVPs there, like getting to know everybody better. We had a sort of a party gathering in the Chicago Bulls Stadium as well. It's part of a new event that's coming, Workplace Ninja US. So really great stuff. And I love this community. It feels like a big family. So I really want to highlight that as well. And then the other thing is, of course, Windows 365 Link, our first purpose-built cloud PC device for Windows 365. We have been working on this for like 2 years. It has been a little bit of a personal journey to me as well, being part of the incubation project in the beginning as well. What is unique of this device is that it boots straight into a cloud PC. It's a low footprint operating system, highly secure, optimized for Defender, M365, and completely managed in Microsoft Intune. So you can just use Microsoft Intune just like for Windows 365, configuring a provisioning policy, as you know, but as well now an endpoint that's optimized for that and aligned with a more full end-to-end solution from like the hardware to in the cloud PC. And the other awesome thing, what I personally like about this device, is that it supports YubiKeys. So you can just put a YubiKey in and then passwordless log on to this device as well. And the device is completely purpose-built for shift workers, and the new Windows 365 Frontline shared mode offering is completely supported as well. So if you like having call center workers, frontline worker kind of scenarios, retail, shop floor workers, all these kind of scenarios that require somewhat of a shared PC, this is a great device to kick the tires with. It's $350, so very compelling to combine with your Windows 365 license. And yeah, I'm just excited to hear if there are any questions regarding that or something else.
Awesome. I think you just now answered some of the questions, so great effort.
Oh, bye, guys.
Okay, Florian, what was your highlight?
One of my highlights would definitely also be Link, because it's a simple product for us as administrator. It's maybe a little bit boring to configure because we don't have to do much, but that's also the beauty in things that you don't need to have 2 days of configuration and troubleshooting until it runs. And another highlight of me were the whole new features inside of the secure service edge of Global Secure Access, with the TLS exception, the continuous access evaluation, and also the DNS for client private suffixes. So those additions really make a big step for the whole security edge there.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think also one of my highlights was EVM support for Windows ARM64 devices as well, but also the device inventory that are going to cover cross-platform as well. I'm really looking forward to that as well. So yeah, it was really great.
All right, now it's my turn. I feel challenged. Everyone picked really cool stuff, but if I may focus on the Apple management, there are 3 things that sparkled my day. The first thing is the enrollment of macOS. It's a streamlined. It's really beautiful how they use it, more interactive and easy to enroll a Mac device now. The second thing is for iOS, which is the reporting. I know for sure there's a lot of my customers, they have been asking for it, and now they got it. It's a beautiful thing. And last but not least, the Apple Vision Pro, which I predicted 5 months in advance once I saw the announcement from Apple that they are enrolling MDM for the Apple Vision Pro, which I'm happy to see it now.
Awesome. So a lot of great features and products released. Super exciting. So let's get started with the first community question. This one comes from Fabian Stettberger, and he asks, what are the advantages of Microsoft Autopatch if we already have a Windows Update for Business in place? Who wants to take this?
I can try to answer that one. I think one of the advantages I see from Windows Autopatch is the reporting, but also some of the things when you start registering a device with Windows Autopatch, that you can see if the device has any leftovers in the registry editor as well, but especially the reporting, and also the possibility of creating more rings as well. And once it's running, it's just great. You don't have to do anything really.
Thank you, Nicklas. Did someone have something to extend to this, or should we jump to the next question?
I would add. I would just +1 on the reporting bit. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for, and there were some new Copilot scenarios as well. But yeah, if you don't have it set up, it's a great way to get started. But if you're fully happy with what you're at, then yeah, I see the reason for the questioning. I would just add to what Nicklas said.
Perfect. Good. Then let's jump to the next question. And Christian, here we are. We got the first question about Windows 365 Link. Nicklas is asking about the availability date in France.
Yeah, it's a good question. So first of all, if you're interested in Windows 365 link, encourage everyone to contact your Microsoft sales rep. We are in public preview right now. So if you give the signals that there is interest in a specific region, we can at least track kind of where that interest is coming from. We are going from public preview to GA in April next calendar year. So rapidly, very soon. And that will be the moment you could expect more availability in other regions that we support right now. So
thank you for those insights. Then we have Yusuf asking about labs, and he is asking about the implementation of labs and also what about the new administrator protection feature presented at Microsoft Ignite 2024. So maybe this would be interesting if we could have someone from CXC, so Cristina or Jason. How do you see customers adopting to the new Windows Labs?
I would actually put in that Dano's probably in a little bit of better position to answer that one. But I think the big thing there is to make sure you do your research and don't conflate these things, because they all do have distinct functionalities. And even though the acronyms kind of overlap, so initially we called it LAP, which of course was really close to LAPS. And not that you will ever see that, but just make sure you know what you're talking about when you actually talk about it. But honestly, I think Dano's way better positioned to talk about this because it's very related to EPM as well. Sorry, Dano, putting you on the spot.
No, it's good. I'll also reintroduce myself. My name is Mike Danoski. A lot of people call me Dano. And then to Christian's point earlier, my pandemic hobby is magic tricks. But anyway, sorry, laps, not what we're here to talk about. So laps, the question about how do we implement it, I think goes to sort of the CSP structure, if you're familiar with how CSPs work. And so Laura, actually on my team, worked very closely with the Windows team who was building out that CSP configuration service provider, kind of like a client-side extension for folks coming from GPO. But it's basically the bits in Windows that sit and wait for signal from whoever their MDM provider is. So in our case, it's us, it's Intune. And so when that signal comes down and basically says, like, turn on laps and here's how you configure it, then all the laps client on the box goes through and operates however you have it configured. I don't know if there's more to those questions, go ahead and you can add in there. But yeah, it's really just, there's a CSP that was built. Of course, there's all the password management and stuff behind the scenes that we take care of, which uses Entra behind the scenes. So yeah, not really too much to go into there other than the adoption curve, I would say, was quite high for a new setting. One of the highest adoption curves. I think we announced laps, I want to say in like April or March of last year. And by the time MMS rolled around and we were at May, I think the whole room had their hand up that they deployed it. And we saw very quick adoption, which I think speaks to how easy it is to set it up. And it's a conversation I have a lot over the time with folks in my area, being with EPM, as folks are interested in using laps as like a break glass scenario, if as like a last ditch effort, if they absolutely need to have admin privileges on a box, it's a safer way than having like multiple accounts and stuff like that. Which brings me to my next part. I can actually cover the administrator protection bit as well that was announced at Ignite. It's currently in private preview. This is an effort from Windows to go through and change fundamentally how that token works, how the administrator token is accessed and how it's used inside of Windows. And so if you want to think about it conceptually, what it's doing is it's separating your identity of who you are on that device away from the administrative privileges. So it doesn't change, like it's not moving you to standard user. It's not providing additional constraint and things like that. What it's really doing is making sure that you're protected against attacks that are looking at token theft and things like that. So the idea is that that token is not persistent. It's not associated with your identity, and it is spun up and used only when that administrator access is required. It's an architecture very similar to EPM, although, and we work very closely with that team, but it's a little bit different use case. You'll see it only on administrator accounts. You won't see it on standard user. And like I said, the key difference, because we get this question quite a bit, the key difference between that and maybe what you would look at for EPM and standard user is that EPM, when you move down to standard user, you're using EPM to elevate and provide additional privileges to someone based on your rule set and your default rule behavior and stuff like that. But it's actually that user account being a standard user, which is providing all that constraint around not letting them install, not letting them change settings, get into registry and stuff like that. So if you have more questions about administrator protection, go ahead and pop it in, and I can answer some more. But that's kind of the brief overview. I highly encourage folks to sign up for the private preview. It's not really signing up for the private preview; it's in the insiders build. But give it a test, give us feedback, let us know how it goes. Yeah, but you'll see that sort of grow over time as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mike.
I want to throw in there real quick, and I was alluding to it, and Mike definitely talked about it, but if you're not paying close attention to what he's saying, you may miss it. Is that LAP, so administrator protection, or what we used to call local administrator protection, I think it's just administrator protection now, is not the same as EPM, right? Under the covers, there are some constructs that are similar, and they kind of very deeply do some of the same things, but they are not for the same use case. So don't confuse those two. So just because we're coming out with administrator protection doesn't mean you don't need EPM still for that use case.
Yeah, and LAP, administrator protection, different thing than LAPS. LAPS being local admin password solution. Switching around local admin password and stuff like that. Two different things.
Okay, so definitely a lot of cool features to keep us secure. Maybe it would be interesting also to hear the community voice here. I'm sure, Florian, you did some EPM and also labs projects. Maybe you can give us some insights about how you do that at customers.
Yeah, sure. Like for me, the main difference between labs and EPM or administrative protection is labs should be like the break glass account in case you really need to do something on your end device or on the user's end device with admin privileges. And EPM is if someone has to do that on a regular basis or for special reasons. And I see same use case for administrative protection. There you have also more the part-time admin approach, and not with labs the admin that should only be used by help desk or emergency accesses. But the adoption of labs was rapid. Because it was very easy to implement. It was a no-brainer for most organizations, especially if you had Entra-only devices before. Most of them used some third parties or community projects to have the labs availability. And now with the Windows Labs feature, we have that fully implemented in Intune and Entra.
Perfect. Thank you, Florian. I think we can move now to the next question to also cover all of your questions. The next question, I think there are also some new announcement. The question is it possible to use Microsoft Connected Cache for deploying big app packages without having config manager in place? Who wants to take this question? Anton, maybe you?
I can just mention that. First of all, with CM, you can really only use that technology with Windows updates. With Intune, you can use that technology. I would say I'm specifically talking about delivery optimization first, right? You can use that technology for updates and applications as well, right? So definitely more capabilities there. Now, to the specific question of connected cache, I think we'll have to follow up on that. Whether it is possible. I'm not sure what you mean by deploying big app packages. How big are those? So it'd be good to get some follow up over the chat.
Yeah, I can weigh in real quick a little bit. So we did just release to private or to public preview the new MCC version. So we're not supposed to call it MCC, so you didn't hear me say that, but the Microsoft Connected Cache. And that's completely standalone, so you can deploy that outside of Config Manager and use it for DO content. So both of these Microsoft Connected Cache are all about delivering content that is delivery optimization aware, which includes Windows updates from the cloud. They don't include Windows updates from like WSUS, but it includes it from the cloud. Basically, all content that's delivery optimization aware today has to come from some cloud source, some CDN, some URL that's out there. It's a little bit of an oversimplification, but it's more or less true. So it depends upon what content you're ultimately using. But honestly, at the end of the day, and kind of one of the early questions was comparing WoofB to AutoPatch. Everyone should just be using one of those anyway, and that part of it's kind of a moot point because that's definitely delivery optimization aware.
Great. Any more additions here? If not, then we will proceed to the next question, which comes from Jasbir. How to convert existing endpoint security baselines for Windows to a new baseline as their schema will differ. So this is clearly something pointed to endpoint security here and the baseline. Maybe, Mike, this is for you, or am I wrong?
No, this is for me. Yeah, I'll do a quick overview on what's going on with baselines and endpoint security in general. So probably over the past, I'll go way back. 4 years ago, we started building the unified settings platform behind the settings catalog. This is a way for us to automatically ingest new settings and make them available so we can move quickly and agile. It also did a bit of a reset on how we define settings and how we define policy. And if you're in the graph portion of it, you've seen that. And so we've gone and created templates. A template is basically just a bunch of those settings that are saved together that you can configure all together. And then sometimes we add a few more bells and whistles in the UX, maybe a little bit more reporting because we know what settings are in there. And then I want to say probably last fall, maybe earlier this spring, we launched the new baseline that's based on the settings catalog, based on the unified settings platform. And the question was about migration. We've gone through and auto-migrated all of the endpoint security profiles that have existed in the past. And so like your firewall policy, your EDR policy, all that stuff is migrating through. I think we're about 95% done with that. We're going to move over to device configuration. And for baselines, I believe we're going to bring an upgrade flow. But today, what you can do, and what I would do if I was doing a manual migration, and really it's the essence of what we're doing behind the scenes when we do our migration, is you can create a policy that has the exact same settings and same values. I know this can be a little bit daunting depending on how many customizations you have in the baseline. But if you create the other policy with the same settings, same values, make sure there's no conflict, deploy that to the same groups, monitor for a couple days from our data. When we do our migration, we check to make sure that all the reporting states are the same for every setting, every value. Once that's there, we go and pull off the old value once it reaches a certain threshold of devices that have checked in for it. If you want to do this yourself, I'd recommend leaving it in no shorter than like 7 days or so. 30 days would be great. There's no impact to having the two unless you're making changes and you have to change both, but it's your baseline. So yeah, if you want to do it yourself, layer them, make sure the reporting's coming back and looking correct for all the devices, the same number of devices are checking in, all that good stuff. And then just simply remove the old baseline and the new one will persist. The other, I'll have to get back. I see the LinkedIn comments. I can go back and comment. I'm pretty sure that we're going to build an upgrade path that helps you move from one to the other, but I'll look into that for you and I'll get back to the question.
Thank you very much. Maybe, Anton, is there something more to share about the whole engineering or architecture part at Intune to share publicly?
Well, one of the things I do want to mention is that we really want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, right? And we're actually addressing the needs of all of you. So I want to encourage everybody to submit the feedback. Tell us what's not working. Tell us what you want to improve. Like, for example, I see a few great comments, right? And things are not going well. Please tell us what specific things are not going well. We are looking at that very closely. So not quite related to sort of the the sort of the architecture of Intune, but just wanted to to point that out. Please let us know what's not working. We're listening. There's feedback portal, aka/Intune feedback, where you can submit your feedback, and we're looking very closely at that. Not everything is resolved right away, but we want to make sure that we take the input into account as we're prioritizing and working on new features. So please let us know. So that's one. The second thing, just very quickly, talking about Intune as a whole. We are operating at a very big scale. So we're a multi-tenant service, obviously. that spans across multiple regions. So sometimes it may feel like things are a bit slower, but it's actually like we're making sure that changes go through a proper change control and proper testing before we release. And we have a lot of knobs in place, such as we utilize flooding, for example, like a lot of knobs in place to make sure that when we release a feature or a change, the change have gone through a lot of testing rings. So again, for us, this is super important to be both scalable and reliable. We pay very, very close attention to that. And just coming back to the point I made earlier, please let us know when you have feedback, and that's how we can improve our feature set. So please go to aka.ms/Intune feedback, one word, and submit the feedback to us, and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Anton. Good, then I think we can move on to the next question. The next question is a question about best practice, how you can handle password expiration notification. He said that he currently handles this with a script in the auto start, which automatically pops up and shows a toast notification that the password is expired. But he's asking if there are some best practices how other companies handle this. Maybe Florian, do you have here some experience from your customers?
My goal always is to move them to non-expiration policy. It's also in the next SIS recommendation that they removed that, or NIST recommendation. If you still have some expiration policies, it depends a bit on if they are configured in your local Active Directory or online with online-only accounts. You will have some notifications, but for the local accounts, we mainly use scripts which will send emails out to the user. The toast notifications could be an option as well. I'm not sure how often a user really clicks on those notifications, because my experience shows that the user has a box with some information. They click it just away, so then you end up with users with locked accounts at some point. So probably the best way is to give them some kind of message through email system.
Okay, thank you, Florian. Did someone had something to add to this question, or some experiences how you handle this at your customers? No. Okay, then I would say, Nicklas, go on with the next question.
Yes, again from Nicholas. Remote desktop app or Windows app. In the end, there will only be one left. I guess he's pointing here to Windows app. And what about the Windows app limits as AVD private links support? So a general question about the Windows app.
I can jump in here. I'm not completely understanding the last part of this question. So I can just reframe kind of the vision of the Windows app. So the Windows app is built to unify 16 apps to just one app, a platform to manage, maintain, as well as to use as an end user, to connect to all your Microsoft or Windows Cloud services. So AVD, Windows 365, RDS, as well as DevBox, and in the future, more of these components like connecting to RDP server and such as well. But that will take some time, and eventually we want to move the RD client or remote desktop client to the Windows app as well. So no plans or dates or whatsoever to share. We will do that hand in hand with customer feedback. So at some point we will ask for feedback. What do you need more and such as well? So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure what the AVD private link question exactly means. Maybe Nicklas, maybe you know to add some color here.
Windows app limits as AVD private links. I'm actually also not sure, but we can monitor the chat. And Nicholas, you can maybe clarify this question, and then we can follow up on this.
Yeah, that sounds great. We have our own links already. So if the question is moving out of the very complex web URL to remember to just a unified one, we already have that in place. But I think this is a different question. So please chime in the chat. I'm happy to elaborate.
Awesome. Thank you, Christian. So then let's take the next question.
Yes, the next question is from Atul Deep. He is asking, what role does AI play in automating endpoint management tasks?
I think this is a super interesting question because when we discuss with customers around all the part of endpoint analytics and especially the part of advanced analytics, the next question is always, what do we do next, right? How do we automate any remediations or any tasks? I think probably most of you have seen already the Copilot integration with Intune. I think Mike can comment a bit more on this. This is only the beginning, but you can see already the potential on gathering the information that we have in the tenant. And I don't know if we will be able at some point to do some automated actions, because obviously you have to be super careful with what you want to automate with AI. But I think you can start to see the potential that is there. And if you didn't have the opportunity to see the Copilot integration with Intune, I think this is a very good starting point just to start realizing the potential there. And I think we have a lot more to do with Copilot integration in Intune. I don't know, Mike, if you want to comment anything else, but I think it's a very common ask, right? Comment from customers.
Yeah, it's a common ask, especially when we're starting to unlock like what AI is capable of and what we can do within Intune. So I think right now what you saw is the multi-device query announcement at Ignite, the EPM scenario that is coming soon, where we're sort of like looking at elevations and detecting, is it potentially malicious? And the next question is, cool, but why do I have to click on the button to do this, and why do I have to interact with Copilot to do this? I think a lot of the time we're thinking about when we're building these scenarios out, is this just a feature or is this something that's Copilot specific? I think Satya said that Copilot is the AI or the UI for our AI. So it's really enabling us to bring things together that were previously much more difficult to bring together, because now we have like a central plane where we can bring all the data in and let you ask questions and stuff like that. Currently, as far as automation goes, though, when you're looking at something like taking action, Microsoft takes a stance that we need to be incredibly responsible with the AI investments that we're making. And I don't think we're there yet where we're doing actions and things like that, but it's definitely an area to investigate, right? But for now, we're looking at a lot of summarization. We're looking at things like automate, or not automating, but like building out your reporting and stuff like that with device query. And I think you'll just see those scenarios evolve over time. But again, if you're seeing stuff that you're like, man, AI could really knock this out of the park or do a great job with, share the feedback. We'd love to hear that kind of stuff. You never know what most of our product is based on feedback. This is what we thrive on. So let us know what you're thinking.
Thank you very much. Maybe Nicklas or Shady, any more to add?
I think AI is going to be really helpful for administrators that might not be that experienced in Intune, trying to help them create policies and hopefully help them get started in Intune as well. I also think that's a very important piece to think about, because when you're new in Intune, it might not be the easiest to navigate around and figure out where to create the policies as well.
If I may add, then a while back I had this podcast with Jannik, and we played around with the embedded experience in Intune for Copilot for security and the central portal. It was a pretty cool podcast we had, and the way the Ignite presented Copilot for Intune was intriguing. I loved it, the way they help the admin. They think of the admin from perspective of, they can do a query. If not everyone is, will be able to code especially for queries and doing some. And there's just one button for action now, and this action button has a lot of options to choose from. I love the way Microsoft is proceeding in this area in device management, and I can only see that is going forward and forward.
All right, thank you very much. Then let's move on to the next question. This one is about multi-tenant management with Intune or for Intune. He understands, so URA understands that Microsoft Lighthouse is giving some essential capabilities of security management, but is there or are there any plans to expand it also to Intune policies? And what are your general recommendations in handling multi-tenant management efficiently? Anyone bring in some experience to multi-tenant?
I was going to comment just quickly that I would like to understand a bit better the scenario here. Is it a vendor scenario where you have different customers, or it is you managing your group of enterprise? Because I do work with several very, very big customers that or groups of companies that have different companies within the group. And what they are generally doing is actually sharing one tenant, and we work on the delegation, scoping, RBAC, and all that in place to delegate the administration if needed. But I don't know if here we are talking about some other type of scenario where you're a vendor, where you have to manage several customers. So I think this will be relevant because in the case of one single customer, we are normally doing one tenant and delegation with scoping, mergers and acquisitions. Okay, yeah. So in that case, I have worked with a couple of very big customers here in Europe that they have a model of business, which is they acquire different companies throughout the time. And what they are doing is typically integrating those devices in one single tenant and doing delegation. So the decision there has been, in my experience, to put everything in the same tenant and manage it from there. And then our focus has been on defining scoping roles and permissions, etc., to do the right delegation. I don't know if it's the same experience for everybody in the call, but I at least have 2-3 examples in mind of customers I am working with right now.
And I'll quickly add I think the purpose is slightly different, as Cristina mentioned. Really, if it's mergers and acquisitions and it's sort of one company, right, it's probably going to be much easier to manage it within the same tenant. Now, there are other scenarios, right? Like, for example, our MSPs, the multiple service providers, or managed service providers. There's just a different scale of the number of tenants that they have to manage. So the tools like Lighthouse, or other similar tools, right, that can do actions across different tenants help there. It does help when you have a sort of the larger number of tenants. So we would love to we would love to have Intune work much better with those kinds of systems, and make sure that it's easy to perform those multi-tenant operations. So please, again, let us know what doesn't work. But to Christina's point, if it's a small number of tenants, if it's not that scenario, it may be a better, just from integration perspective, to use the same tenant.
Thank you very much, Anton.
I'll add 2 quick things as well. One of the things, so I talked about the policy overhaul that we've been doing for the past couple of years. Policy on the unified settings platform supports import-export. So for like your settings catalog policy and stuff like that, you can export the JSON and then import it into another policy, of course, or another tenant. And of course, be careful when you're doing that, making sure you're not missing any of the settings and stuff like that as you export, or not necessarily that, but make sure you don't have like conflicts in the other one if you really are trying to just like carbon copy policy between tenants. But I wanted to touch on something that was mentioned earlier about mergers and acquisitions, and a story that I had heard when we were in Switzerland for Ninja Summit was a customer who had, I can't recall if it was AVD single session or Windows 365, but basically they just had a host pool ready, And when the merger and acquisition went through, they would basically let people keep the hardware that they had, and then give them access to Windows 365 environment that met their baseline protection. And so then you can get people productive very quickly. I think we all know sometimes, when there's a merger and acquisition, it's a little bit challenging to get access to tools that you need for your new job and stuff like that, or continuing the job that you have and fulfilling the security requirements of the new parent organization. But I thought that was a really cool solution there, where they sort of had a plan that when they do the acquisition and actually merge the two companies, they have Windows 365 devices sitting there ready to go. Or machines, I shouldn't say devices, right? So that they could just let people log in, sign in there, get back to work, and then they can worry about hardware as they go through refresh cycle. It's not as much as an urgent thing at that point.
Perfect. Thank you very much to everyone. Then I would say we go to the next question. The next question is from Shirley. She's asking, given the rapid evolution of endpoint management tools like Intune and Windows 365 cloud PCs, what innovations can we expect to see in enabling seamless management of diverse global workforces? And how is Microsoft preparing IT professionals like us to stay ahead in managing endpoints of tomorrow? Very good question. Who wants to jump in?
I can go first, maybe. Personally, one of the main reasons why, together with Pearl Larson, we wrote the Mastering Intune, Microsoft Intune book, and previously Mastering MAM book, is because of this. Myself, and I bet the rest of the Microsoft folks here as well, we internally learn as well about the products that we build internally. And we know as well, sometimes it's hard to keep up internally too. There's so much happening across the ecosystem. So my way of giving back to the community, as well as learning and staying up to date myself, is by writing books and giving them to the community to purchase. So one of them is Mastering Microsoft Intune, and the other one that's coming out next week is Mastering Windows 365, the second edition. So it has all the new announcements from Ignite in there. So that's, of course, something I personally do with like other contributors from the community and Microsoft internal folks like Pearl Larson. However, we just document everything, of course, too. The Learn page, Microsoft Learn, like the more scenario-focused Learn pages, the adoption page as well. We do podcasts and social media kind of episodes, like Windows in the Cloud I'm presenting. I see Mike pretty often on one of the shows, the Intune packaging. I'm not sure exactly the name on the Windows IT Pro channel. So yeah, I think you should just follow all of us, and then we just bring you along the journey all together.
Great. And for sure, you are also joining sessions like this to also tell the community what's new and what is important to look into, right? Good. Did someone had something to extend to what Christian said?
Yeah, just maybe to add also on the Intune side, I think you probably saw in the Copilot integration with Intune, one of the scenarios is to understand how policies are used or what is their application in the endpoint, etc. So I think this is just the beginning of what we can do with Copilot to also ramp up the IT admins that are not used to using Intune, or they have been using other tools. So I think Copilot is there, and it can help a lot as well to ramp up with all the content and the usage of the tools.
Yeah, if I may add as well, I definitely cheer Christian on. I remember I followed him like 2 years ago. He has been like a credible inspiration for me. I mean, I've been following his work, podcasts and books and so on. And that's one thing. Other thing is, of course, the endpoint management on LinkedIn. I have personally learned a lot. There's a lot of competent people within the community that I started my podcast because of them. My podcast it revolves around those community guys for their tools. They have incredible tools that's supporting Intune to be more agile and more flexible. So thank everyone for this.
Thank you, Shadi. Maybe Nicklas, how about you? I think you are one of most youngest talents in this community. How did you jump into these topics?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. So as you might see in the background here, I have a few books as well. So I have also been reading books, and of course I've also been working with the tools as well. At work, but also outside of work, because I had a big interest in it. I think one of the most important things is to follow the blogs, read the blogs in the LinkedIn group, participate to events as well, in-person events, online events, and of course reach out to people if you have any questions or anything, and if you want to share anything, create a blog and share your what you would like to share as well. I think that's a great start.
I'll add one more quick thing as well. There's obviously, like, the community is awesome. I've been in Intune since 2015, so it's been cool to see it definitely grow. And I think I came from the Windows side, so there was always a community there. Going over to Intune in the early days, it was kind of interesting to see that grow. But the thing I really wanted to just touch on is, if you haven't looked into what we're doing for the Secure Future Initiative, SFI, you've probably heard Microsoft SFI, we are operating under 3 core principles, and it's really changed how we think about security and how we definitely have taken a security first approach. The three core principles: it's secure by design, secure by default, and secure operations. And some of the spirit behind this is that to stay secure, and I think you saw this announced Ignite, that a lot of the new security settings that are shipping are going to be on by default. And really what we want to be able to do is help you so you don't have to like stay on the bleeding edge of every new thing that's coming out. Of course, there's always going to be new information coming out and new things you have to protect your environment against. But we want to help out with that, and that's where that secure by default comes in. And so I know that there's a lot of feedback a lot of times when we ship settings to say, hey, why is this on by default? Why is this off by default? And obviously that's all fair game, right? Like as administrators, you want to be able to control that stuff granularly. But I think you will see more so going forward that security settings specifically will ship in an on state or in an off state for a period of time, and then flip over to a default on state once validation is complete. So yeah, just wanted to kind of add that in there.
Good. I think we have time for one question left, and after that we will jump then into the raffle. This means, Nicklas, do you want to take the last question for today?
Yes, sure. This one comes from John, and it is about third-party patch management. And it's a question about that he saw it mentioned part of the Intune suite. I think he's referring to enterprise application management here from Intune suite. But he feels like it's not fully backed off, I think, or a fully baked offering.
Yeah, I could probably just quickly jump in. I know a few others want to jump in as well. We're, the enterprise app management is definitely, is definitely sort of our goal to help with the third-party patching, and we're actually working on it, and we're coming up with a lot more functionality as we go. We recently announced sort of the update scenario as well. Now, said that, please let us know what's what kind of more clarification about not fully baked. We would love to know what's not working or what we could do better. How can we help get your environment patched as soon as possible and keep your environment secure? So please reach out and let us know what would you like us to do better there.
Yeah, I can jump in a little bit as well. So clearly, Anton said that that's definitely our goal. The big missing piece that we have today is being able to look after what we call unmanaged apps. So those are apps that are not deployed by Intune itself. It's not a huge conceptual leap to be able to pull those in. and then use the current supersedence model that we have. That is the model that we're using for updates today, and then to be able to automate that. We just released that a few months ago. I don't remember exactly when that got released, but it did get released a few months ago for managed apps. So those are ones that Intune actually deploys. So the next big leap there is the unmanaged apps. Don't have a timeline to share, but it is something that is part of the initial plan for all of this, is to be able to do that. Other capabilities come along with it, some reporting capabilities as well. So it's not just about deploying updates to those unmanaged apps, but having knowledge or better knowledge of those unmanaged apps has value as well. There's kind of another fork or another pillar here as well, and that's expanding our app catalog. That is something, depending upon, of course, who you've actually listened to or heard say and talk about this internally, externally, doesn't really matter. You're always going to hear some different number. If for all of y'all that know Danny is the feature owner for all of that. He kind of turns over every time, right? And it's like a voodoo doll kind of sort of anytime someone actually mentions a number, just because it's really hard to guarantee any type of thing there. So I'm definitely not going to mention a number here, but our aspiration here, of course, is to be, as big as possible, because at the end of the day, that's what customers need to be successful. So we're going to continue to iterate on that. We're going to continue to add apps as customers request them. We're going to continue to figure out what challenges we need to overcome. Today there is a specific app that we don't have in the catalog that pretty much everybody in the world uses. There's some challenges with their installer, and it's part of something we need to look at. We need to work with them and figure out the best path there too. So it's always going to be a little bit of a longer journey with us, because we can't be as agile as some of the smaller guys for some of these details. But at the end of the day, I think everyone, and this is part of the reason folks continue to stick with us, right? There's lots of other reasons, but this part of it is that we're going to persevere through these kinds of things, and we're going to make the change necessary to help folks be successful. Or at least that's my honest and true belief. So everyone can surely have their own, but I know we are working towards those things.
I will add us one more thing. I think a recommendation that I've got before, if there's an application missing, I think, as Anton mentioned, you can add it or request it through the feedback portal as well that Anton was mentioning earlier. I think it's possible to submit ideas for apps as well.
Yeah, in the documentation, there's a link. I clearly don't know what the link is offhand, but if you go to the EAM docs or learn page, right, there is a link in there to be able to submit this. It is something that we track. It is something that we are heavily invested in. Again, it's I said it a couple times when I was talking before. Customer success is truly important to us. You're going back to Cristina and I's introduction. I don't remember exactly what Cristina said, but that's the entire point of our team is customer success, and so we are invested in that.
Okay, good. Then I would say thank you very much to everyone who submit questions in the LinkedIn chat, and also thank you very much for everyone who answered the questions. And with this, we came to the end of the session, and we will start with a raffle. What we did is we collect all the names from everyone who submitted one of the questions. And we put this into this wheel, and then we will spin the wheel, and we'll see who is the lucky one who wins the ticket for the next MEM Summit next year. And the winner is Eprima. I hope I pronounce your name correct. This means what you now can do is congratulations. Yes. What you now can do is to reach out to me, send me your email, and then we will follow up with you, and we'll make sure that you get the ticket. And I think you will see most of us who also are in this call then on the next MEM Summit. And with this, we will also announce that currently there is a Black Friday deal for tickets for the next MEM Summit. This means if you are planning to join, make sure that you order the ticket during the next days, and then you get some discount on the tickets. And I think with this, I will say again, many thanks to all the speakers. Amazing work for everyone. And also thank you very much for everyone who submitted questions. And with this, I will say thanks and have a nice day.